Alright, let's get this started. I know it's been Today we're going to talk the Nikon Z9. Welcome to my channel, by the way. I'm your host, Michelle, and I do various vlogs, travel, portfolio, lifestyle. I do a lot of things. I hope this Wi-Fi holds up. Gotta put it in such a way where it's got direct connection to the Wi-Fi. Otherwise, it's just gonna go to shit real fast. So there's a lot of stuff in the background, so don't mind that. There it was. A little cleaner. Alright. Wait till it stabilizes and we'll get started here. Okay, perfect. Cool. All right. So we're live. I don't normally do this. It's been a minute, but I figure since we're not that far away from the launch of the Nikon Z9, I thought, hey, what the hell? Let's do a video. Let's do a stream. I was going to release a podcast, but for some reason, and I checked it, inaudible. I did the podcast. It took me about an hour, and apparently the app that I use is Anchor. I use on my computer, mostly on my phone, and not a problem. I've never really had any issues with the app itself. I think what had happened was they had did an update. Prior to me doing that podcast and other podcasts in the past, Bluetooth support for the earpiece. Now, there is. It's wild. So, I didn't realize that I was recording with my Bluetooth earpieces, but they weren't on my head. They weren't in my pocket, I believe. Yeah, they were in my pocket because when I listened to the audio, it felt like it was like a little rumbling or like shuffling. So I was like, what the hell? Anyways, I went through the whole podcast. There's no audio. It was just pocket rumbling the whole time. So, crazy, I know. Anyway, since you're here, you're more than welcome to sit down, relax, have a drink coffee, tea. I'm drinking an ale, an IPA right now myself. So we're gonna get into this. I gotta remember what I was talking about. Podcast is an hour. I don't last an hour. Plus, this launch is gonna happen very soon. Very soon. It's 8 o'clock, Hawaii Standard Time right now. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna look this up real quick. Since we're live, I can look this up and tell you exactly when. Exactly when. Provided my Wi-Fi. Yeah, my computer is wired, but you know how that is. And the freaking, the thing about, I don't know why it is that Apple hasn't updated their camera on the computer. But anyway, it looks very. I was gonna use the computer and it's wired, but the grain is it looks like really bad. Really bad. So we're not using that. So let's see. Lunch tomorrow. Here we are. Nikon USA. If you have any doubts? So we got like 5 hours. So we got a little less than 6 hours. 5 hours, 57 minutes, 32 seconds, and counting. That's it. Roger that. Let me, 1 second. Where's my other phone at? I'm currently using my other phone right now. No, I'm not live. Why I actually am live on this phone, so that actually does make sense. Let's see here. Okay. I get this sorted out. And you'll see me like squinting a lot because this light is, it doesn't look bright, but for my eyes it's bright. And LEDs is like some next level shit. I don't know what they are, but anyway, try to position it this way, see the whole face, and not go blind while I'm doing it. Okay. Yeah, it's like right in there. Oh my god. Try to keep it behind the camera so it's like, yeah, if it's behind the camera, I won't like make that glare. Okay. What the hell did I come on here for? Oh, okay, cool. Going live on YouTube. That's funny. I'm gonna put a message out on Instagram and there we go. I would have done this before. This app that worked right. So, damn, this is a slow phone. This one's slow. It's my old phone. Going live on YouTube. I'll put a message in the there. Check my link is in the freaking. Oops, damn it. Okay, there we go. Any messages? Let me check. Yeah, not really. Okay. It's cool. We're just getting started anyways. We're now like 10 minutes into the show. Alright, cool. I don't know why it does that. Oh. Oh, well, what the hell just happened? Alright. There we go. We're live. We're in. Okay. So you see me do that a lot. The light, so I can't do the LEDs very long. So anybody about it? New Belgium Voodoo Ranger. Pretty good. Alright, where do I begin? Let's first start with his background. That's what I did in my podcast. Again, I hope to not drag this out too long, but we'll keep it as short and sweet. If we go 45 minutes, we go 45 minutes. We're gonna be here. So like I said, just enjoy. Sit down, have some tea, some brew, drink whiskey, rum, whatever. This isn't necessarily an adult stream, but so if you're not, then well, drink water. Same with me, Kool-Aid's too sugary, and yeah. So background. I have been a photographer for quite a while, actually. Portraits is a different story. Portraits I have only done for almost 5 years. So 4 or 5 years total, and then it catches up with you really fast. But as far as being a photographer, I've been shooting for just, even with my phone, I shot a while just with my iPhone 4, 3, whatever it had. And before that, well before digital, I was shooting with film. 110, I think it was called, 110, 112, whatever, 120. The film, the very small ones. I thought it was always cool because it was easy. I didn't have to mess with anything. It was like it was perfect. And I don't know if it was better, but it was less, obviously less film for the camera to be like, for the camera to take, to expose, right? So it was probably not as good. Very rarely I shot 35, but I ran 120, had a camera, got the flash cube and all that stuff. I was like, it was dope. It was dope. So that was my first time getting into photography. That was like once upon a time ago. That was high school, even before high school. And at that time, I got, I don't even remember the name of the camera. I want to say Minolta, but I don't think that's right. In the game for a while, but my first film camera just happened to be like, I got it for Christmas. So thank you, Mom. Appreciate that. So that was my first, or one of my first, into photography. I've always been like an artist at heart, whether that's being a writer. I started from film. But anyways, let me get to the nitty gritty, the meat and potatoes, as some professor or teacher back in the day, one of my teachers used to say that all the time. Let's get to meat and potatoes. I think it was my English teacher, yeah. Anyway. So we're talking about so I've been on Nikon system since then. Before that, I was only looking at it, and before I got that camera, I was deciding on whether or not to get the Canon equivalent or that. Sony was just too expensive at the time, so I wasn't really looking at them. And there's another reason why I decided not to go with either Sony or Canon, was mostly because the model numbers are just so freaking confusing. Like, let me give you a perfect example. The A7R4 or the A7R3 versus the A7 III. Or Canon, for example, I don't know, it's easier now because they have the R3, R4, R5, whatever, not R4, the R5 and R3. But, yeah, it was like something Mark for, I was like, I'm new to this. So I went to the Nikon route, literally because the model numbers were much easier to just look for. Like, yeah, that's a tip for you guys. Now, I know the Canon has made it a lot easier with their model naming, R5, R3, R6. That's so much easier. So much easier. Thank you, Canon, for doing that. Oh my gosh. Marketing. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about Canon and their model naming practices, but that's primarily the reason why I picked the camera that I picked. Now, yeah, there was a lot of choices out there. The D3300 route, but it's like feature-wise, price-wise, the D5300 was the perfect one, the perfect choice for me. Based on some things, I'm not really gonna talk about facts and figures so much in this, but and like I said, I don't normally do this. Is not like a gear chat. It's just something that happened to be on my mind, and I wanted to really talk about just to set the record straight. Yeah, so D5300 first camera, first DSLR camera, I should say. So my first serious camera. I was in Australia, studying abroad there 6 months, and I was like, I need a real camera. I hiked up Mount Warning with, I didn't have it at the time. I was still deciding, I was still looking on, plus I didn't have the money. But I did have my point and shoot. I started with Fuji. And that was my second Fuji camera, and I had another one before that when I joined the military. See that noise in the back? There's always something. I swear, I could be sitting here all night and not hear a helicopter. Why is a helicopter flying over here? It's like a residential area. I'm gonna wait a second. So we're live. Okay, so I'll check my monitor and make sure it's good to go. So far we're good. We're green. We're definitely green. If you're just joining in here, we're talking about the Z9. Not so much technical aspect, but some technical aspects and innovations I want to actually discuss. But anyways, going back to my first camera. So point and shoot wise, I started at Fuji, and I like how Fuji. Actually, I like their cameras. They weren't like nowadays they're nothing to really talk about, but back then they were shit. And I wouldn't even say they were the cream of the crop. They were just what I could afford, and I got some great imagery from it. In fact, I got one right now. Since we're on video, let me show you my second Fuji camera. Okay. This thing, I actually don't really recall when I got this, but I believe I was either still Navy or just getting out. Anyways, this is a camera that I got. My second Fuji camera, the XLR. I don't know the model number should be on the bottom, but it's the F550 EXR. Not even like the best, but it was one of the first ones they started using SD cards. The older one of this particular, like the predecessor for this one, they actually used XD cards. If you guys remember those XD cards. The main reason why I picked that camera was because it used those kind of cards. I don't know why, but it looked pretty cool, and I still got like one or two of them around. Nobody makes them anymore, I would think. Either they don't make them anymore, or people don't use them anymore. So one or two, can't have them. Anyways, badass camera, still works. I just charged up the batteries, but the battery was sitting forever. Anyway, still the shit, right? Flash pops up like that. Yeah, it's dope. Anyway, that was my second, I wouldn't even say second, but it was my second digital camera as far as like, because obviously I think is it mirrorless? Are these cameras considered mirrorless? Because like, you literally have to have something flip up and anyways, whatever. It's GPS, by the way. It was like one of the first cameras to have GPS on it. That was another reason why I got it. But anyways, so I started Fuji route. And you're probably asking yourself, okay, well, why didn't I go the Fuji route? Well, I wasn't really sure. Um, like Fuji wasn't really on my radar. Like I knew about them, and I'm sure if I looked it up, they would have had like the XT2 or the first iteration of the mirrorless at that time. It was like, well, 2015, so I'm sure they had something out. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. So 2015, what time? Late 15, late 2015. Sony is expensive as shit. I don't think they had released the mirrorless camera yet. And if they did, which I believe they had, then it was like one of their first. So anyway, I went with the D5300, and I use it primarily for landscapes, street. I was in Australia, so I had an opportunity to get a lot of like stuff I wouldn't get here. And I had because I had just gotten the camera, I wanted to at least capture some things before I came back here, obviously, so people would know, like, oh, yeah, this is Australia. And of course, me. I want to capture some of the memories, the places I've been, the places I, had great times at, and half the time I probably don't even remember because I was, drinking and stuff. Well, not all the time, but you know how it is. Hey, Kit Kat. Of course, she would come in here when I'm doing this. Like I said, it could be like I could be sitting here all night and the cat doesn't come in here, or the helicopter doesn't fly overhead. I can't mind the cat. As long as you don't get all clean, Sometimes he gets all clingy. Wants to get in my lap but come on, I'm playing a game. When I'm watching a movie, I don't mind. So, D5300. First DSLR, like I said, I didn't know it. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. All the dials and stuff. If you're getting into photography for the first time, it's not so intimidating. So once you jump in, once you watch like a million YouTube videos on how to operate your camera, you got it. It's not that bad. I'm telling you right now, it's not that bad. And cameras nowadays, it's so much easier. I felt something crawling on me, goddammit. Anyways, it got away, I think. If anything. Why is everything bothering me right now? I'm just trying to make a video. Jeez. Man, okay. Anyway, all the dials and stuff, like, there was a lot. I don't have the camera, so I actually sold it. I sold it actually to my roommate. He needed the camera, so I sold it to him. And plus, I didn't need it anymore. It's a great camera. I did quite a bit of photo shoots with that camera when I got back here in Hawaii. Again, because it was a learning curve to learn everything. I started automatic, went from automatic to P mode, went to P mode. Eventually, I got to aperture mode, and I shot aperture. At the end of that, when I was using that camera, I was shooting aperture mode primarily when I was doing photo shoots. And then I started messing around with manual. But actually, I believe I was messing around with it, but it wasn't until I got the D750, which took the place of that camera. Also Nikon. Easy model number, D750. You can't mistake that. It's like not the D750 Mark 7.58, whatever. I know they're kind of going that route, the Z6 II or the C7 II. I mean, but some people like will put that extra like, oh, it's the Z6 Mark II. I'm like, there's no mark in there. It's not Canon. Settle down. Okay, settle down. But anyways, D750, I still have it to this day. But anyways, primarily now, and since 2016-ish, I'm still kind of in the background in time. But anyways, primarily started shooting portraits with that camera. Also did some landscape, street stuff. I mean, I do my own personal stuff too, so I'm not just shooting or capturing other people. But yeah, spare time I go out and capture things I haven't seen or places I haven't been in a while, and which leads up to the not the D, but the Z6. Now, why the Z6? Why the D750? D750 just made sense to me. I just needed it for portraits. I wasn't going to do weddings. You could do weddings with that camera, and I did actually shoot wedding. I did shoot a wedding with that camera as a second shooter, and great results. It's every camera kind of have its purpose. Like the D750 is great for what it does, and then there's a D850 which is great for what it does. It's a higher megapixel camera versus the D750. And a lot of people use that one for weddings. I mean, I understand, like, okay, because the file size, like I said, I don't want to really get into the whole thing about megapixels and all this stuff. And, you know, the point is that I picked that camera out of every other Nikon camera. I could have stayed crop sensor. So, these 5300 is a crop sensor camera, and I really didn't know what crop sensor actually meant back then. I didn't even know I was shooting with a crop sensor until I learned more about the camera. I was like, oh, that's what DX means. It's like, oh, for DX, that means it's for Nikon. DX is crop sensor, so I use crop sensor lenses. So D750, which is a game changer, full frame camera. So I needed full frame lenses for that camera. Fortunately, I only had 1 or 2 actual lenses for the D5300 because I didn't really use. I mean, granted, I did buy other lenses eventually for that camera, but they had to been like, one of them was like a 24-200, something like that. Great camera for travel, or a great lens for travel. And then I have the kit lens, the 18-55 DX. Yeah, I think I just had those 2 lenses until I upgraded. I'm trying to remember, like, what other lens did I have? I didn't have any primes. But again, at the time, I was more interested in learning the camera versus. I didn't know much about lenses, so lenses was like it was like an afterthought. It's like, okay, I got these 2 lenses. I need this lens for this, and the 1855 wasn't really cutting it for most of what I was doing. It was great for like landscape, waterscape, urban, cityscape, stuff like that, but it wasn't like really good for portraits. So another reason why I got the 24 to, I believe it was 200, 24-200 was I could, against DX. So anyways, those 2 cameras were awesome. It wasn't until I got the D750 where I started getting more lenses. I got more comfortable with the controls. I started messing with manual mode a lot more. So I was in between. I started with aperture on that one, and then I ended pretty much shooting exclusively manual mode with that camera. And if you're a beginner in photography, you will appreciate it. The more sooner you start shooting manual mode, the better it's going to be for you and your work. So, just a forewarning, it's not that bad. Just, you know, if you need help, I mean, hey, I have tons of basic photography 101 type of videos that can get you started and carry you on, actually. But you got to do the work. I can show you the door, but you got to step through it, kind of thing. I mean, I'm more than welcome. I could probably do a video or 2 here and there, maybe in the future. But there's tons of people to do it, so I let them do it, and maybe one day I will. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, anyway, so D750, I still have it to this day. It's a great camera. That one's just particularly a screw drive. Uses screw drive technology for the older lenses, which aren't available for newer stuff like Z6. Um, but there's rumors that it's possible that the screw drive element might be on the new FTZ adapter. Don't quote me, it's not fact, but people are talking about it. There's rumors going around, but I doubt they're gonna put that. I doubt they're gonna put that on there. I don't think they're gonna put that on there. But hey, if they do, that's a game changer. Like I said, I won't get really into those sorts of things. But if you guys are interested, I can pull it out and show you exactly what that is. Anyways, Z6. Z6, I got the Z6 last year, so it's been out for, when did it come out? 2019? I want to say it came out at the end of 2019. So, before the Z6 came out, I was thinking about, my mirrorless, entering the mirrorless situation, whatever you want to call it, the freaking bandwagon. And I was looking at, well, competition-wise, I was like, well, Sony and everything is not really an option. Plus, I like my lenses. So I like all my Nikon lenses, but I don't want to I don't want to switch it up. Switch it up is so expensive. I know people that have done it. It's just so expensive, and it almost to the point where it makes no sense. Like, you switch your camera, your lenses, everything, and you pay all this much money, especially if you go to Sony. Sony is more expensive. Now, I understand and I'll keep this brief, but if for some reason you're just not getting the results that you want with the gear that you have, which isn't the reason why I decided to get a Z6. I just wanted a new camera. Like, I wanted to get in the mirrorless. And utilize new tech. I mean, I got the opportunity to get the Z6, and I was very fortunate, and so I got one. So, but it wasn't like I had to buy all these kinds of lenses. I had all the lenses I'm using now are still the lenses I use for the D750. So the only difference, I bought and sold a few different ones over time because, for example, it worked very well on my D750, but for some reason it just did not want to work. It worked, but it was missing focus, and that's a big deal. It wasn't the camera, it was the lens, the firmware, or something. Lens is actually pretty good. I've used it so many times on my D750. Prior to me using, because I still actually have a 85 lens. That's a screwdriver 6 because there's no screwdriver mechanism for focus. Switch systems. It just didn't make any sense. Plus, I didn't know any other system that well. Now, I was thinking Fuji. I knew the main system of the Fuji, and then I was messing around with my friend's Fuji. He had gotten a X-T3, and I liked what I saw. Even though it was crop sensor, and by the way, Fuji is like rocking crop sensor. They're rocking medium format. Pretty good cameras. So I was thinking about going that route, and I was looking up every possible, I was doing my homework. Like, if I had gone that route, I would keep the D750, of course, like I have now, as a second body, and then I'm going to use the Fuji for primary body and adapter, just to adapt the Nikon glass for those cameras. And I had a notebook. I still have a notebook. Actually, to this day, you go back and prices, how much the adapter would cost, or if I went straight Fuji lenses. So there's pros and cons to all that stuff, but I was waiting on Nikon. I was like, yo, waiting on Nikon. There's friends of mine waiting on Nikon to put something out. There was no chatter about it. And then suddenly, like, they dropped something. They dropped some kind of teaser, and it was like, whoa, these are coming out. It's kind of almost like they did with the what the hell? It's kind of like what they did with the Z9. Like, I mean, people were talking about the Z9 for months. Like, I would say the beginning of this year, and even like probably last year when the Olympics, but the Olympics was canceled or postponed until this year, and so Nikon had a chance to basically catch up. Now they didn't have an actual camera out, like they didn't have a production model out, obviously, but they had some kind of prototype out, and people were using it at the Olympics this year. Anyway, so that was how it was kind of like Z6 and Z7 just kind of like just came out of nowhere, like, whoa, Nikon's been working on this, and bam, we had the Z6. Of course, I waited a whole year till I got one, but I finally got one. And my friend, he got a Z7. I think he got a Z7 too, but yeah. We were waiting, and we were like, is Nikon gonna do this? Same like Canon. Canon, like, they didn't have anything out. Like, Canon came out with mirrorless after Sony being like the top 3, right? So finally, Canon, because I know a lot of people that went from Canon to Sony. More people that I know went from Canon to Sony versus Nikon to Sony. Usually usually Canon and Sony are they're like this, and then one of my friends, he used to shoot Canon and he went Fuji. That's the same one I was talking about. That he let me use his camera or just kind of play with it a little bit, not like use it, but yeah. So that happened. There was a mass exodus. People were saying there was a mass exodus from like Nikon to Sony as well, because whatever. Like, it wasn't a good time. I think it was a better time for Nikon than it was for Canon at the time, because they had come out with cameras. The lenses are on point, but they're not the last, like the DX1 or whatever, but there was a few iterations of cameras that weren't like on par, and for some reason other people said that. I don't know, as a matter of fact. I've never shot with a Canon. I've only held one, played with one, but I've never actually shot with one, so I don't know for sure. But whatever was going on during that time, Sony was just killing the mirrorless game. So they got a huge head start in the mirrorless universe. This beer will get you there. Be careful. So, wow, it'll get you there. So, now Nikon put this stuff out. Canon put this stuff out. Now, granted, both Nikon and Canon were like still number 1 and 2 DSLR universe, but since a lot of people are technology-wise, mirrorless was becoming a thing of the future, was becoming more of a thing of it now. Like, first of all, there's a lot of benefits to getting a mirrorless over DSLR. There's pros and cons to both universes, but I see more benefits from making the switch to mirrorless versus not making the switch at all. And it's a game changer. Like I said, I'm not going to really talk about figures and facts, but the benefits are there. The benefits speak for themselves in my work. And not to say that I'm lazy, but mirrorless technology is giving you giving me more opportunity to focus more on composition work versus like, you know, doing little things like, moving a single point focus to something that, you know, that it can do, like what phones can do already. Basically, phones have been doing it for years. So the cameras are just caught up is all. That's really it. Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath. Anyways, I got this long-winded about my background in cameras, but there's a reason for it. And finally getting to the Z9. I don't plan on getting one. I mean, sure, if I had money at below $6,000 for a camera, yeah, why not? But my reasoning is that I don't need a camera like that. And from what I've seen, and now there's 4 trailers, 4 teasers up. Trying to remember which is which, but the last one was like the guys on the beach racing to get the flag. It was like, it wasn't really what I expected, and I've seen other people say the same thing. Like, it wasn't really what I expected, but you know, whatever. They're gonna launch this thing in like less than 5 hours. So, or less than 6 hours. Yeah, we've still got 5 hours and some change. So, yeah. And then the one before that was the one where they had the autofocus tracking on the eye, the car, the motorbike. It was nuts. But now I believe that I watched Jared Pollin's last video about that. And I don't know if this is true. It probably is, but he was like talking to somebody at Nikon. Like, yeah, well, for the most part, the tracking is true. However, like, you know, if you go in, say, Final Cut, for example, you can basically like put a box or something, or now you can, and you basically use keyframes to track something. Well, now you can actually. I'm not even selling Final Cut. I'm not sponsored by them or Apple, by the way. So, but now you can like track something instead of using keyframe, then you can track something. It's pretty crazy. But anyways, so that kind of technology. But the thing is, Nikon actually did use the data from the autofocus. I forgot what it's called, like the metadata. The metadata from the tracking from each photo. So actually, that's real. That's true. But the actual like tracking in the video is a bit misleading. As to say that, oh, it's too perfect. It's too perfect. But hey, we'll see, guys. It's coming out, so we're gonna see it. So, anyways, it's gonna be something. But I don't plan on getting it. And the main reason why, like I said, I don't plan on getting the camera because I don't need that camera. It's 45 megapixels. That's pretty large files. It's pretty fast, 20 frames per second. I think that's at the low side, but also 120 frames per second on the high side, which is probably pumping out. They're speculating about 10, 11 megapixel kind of photos. If you do the math, that's the file size that would be put out by something going that fast. I mean, the camera overall sounds amazing. I wouldn't get it. But I'll tell you what, though. The main thing is that I would invest in is the future. It's something A1 just did. A1 came out, and some of the tech went to the A7 IV. So it's like a baby A1, they call it. Some of the tech went there. They have the same chips, but they pretty much they're using different sensors. So they dumbed down the camera intentionally. And companies do this all the time. So it's no surprise. Nikon will do the same thing. Some of the tech will hopefully trickle down from the Z9 to like maybe the new iteration of the Z6, 7, and whatever else. Maybe the Z8. We haven't heard from the Z8 in a while. Like, when was the last time you heard about the Z8? There's nobody on. Oh well. So, anyways, how's my audio? How's my audio? Sounds like shit. Yeah, I don't know. It's the little things, guys. It's honestly the little things, and it feels like something's crawling on me. I hate that feeling. So, Z9 looks like it's gonna be a beast. From watching all the teasers, then you got the one where it shoots 8K like over 2 hours, something like that. That's pretty crazy. It looks pretty wild. But here's the thing, and I know people are going crazy on both sides, all camps, Sony, Canon, whatever. From what I'm hearing, I'm not talking about any person about this at all, but and it should be. It's like what's his name, Ryan? He's a YouTuber. Anyways, he's talking about where we need this competition. Competition is like, this is a thing that's like, healthy competition is always good because we have somebody that's like always continuously putting out, it's always on top. I say Sony has been killing the mirrorless game for a minute. So it's about time. And I don't even know if the Z9 is going to be as good or better than the A1. I don't know. It looks like it could be better. But you're not going to really know. But either way, it's Nikon's first true, like, we're going to put a foot forward for the flagship. Their flagship camera. And it's great. Even though I'm not going to buy one, I think it's awesome because the tech that's going to be like released for that thing is going to come out. It's going to trickle down to the other cameras, and who knows, I might get a Z6 III or whatever, if that's even a real thing. I mean, if they can release a Z6 II, then why not a Z6 III? That's all I'm saying. So it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I rent one just to see what it's like. I mean, hell, I want to try it out for myself, even though probably not going to be able to get a Z9 for a while, even if you are. Unless you pre-ordered one already, probably not going to be able to get one. And chip shortage and all that, I mean, across the board, everybody's having issues, supply line issues right now. Everybody. So, good luck with that. I will stick with my Z6 for now. It's working well for me. I'm not having any issues. So the other thing I wanted to address, there's a lot of hate, or rather, not so much hate, a lot of negativity in the realm of like certain people repping this product or repping that product, whatever, and they don't tell you that they're not being sponsored. They're supposed to. They're supposed to say either one, we're not being sponsored, or two, this is not mine, I didn't buy this, but Sony sent me this product for me to test, or Canon sent me this product so I can test it out. I believe you're supposed to do that. Otherwise, it's kind of like you're being sponsored, right? Like, well, it's not yours. You didn't buy it. I respect people when they actually do say that, hey, I didn't buy this. But I'm just doing this review on it just to see how it is, kind of thing. But I've noticed a lot of videos, and I'm gonna say his name, Jared Poland, where he dumps on Nikon. He dumps on Nikon a lot. And granted, I get it. I get where, like, you know, Nikon, like, was one of those, like, first serious cameras. It was like the D3, 4, 5 were all cameras he shot with. He has those. I don't know if he has them now, but he had them, and that was his stuff, right? And then Nikon, like, was like doing. Basically, they, you know, both Canon and Nikon were like, you know, they kind of like came to the party a little bit slower than Sony. Sony was like killing it already. And so I understand, like, you know, if you're doing some kind of work and for some reason the product you're using is not working, or I understand it. I don't know what his situation is or was, but he's always talking about the new stuff. I gotta have the new stuff. It's always about, oh, I got this product now. This is what I'm working with. So it's always that. So if you look at his channel, and he's already acknowledged feeding the beast. He's always got to feed the beast. So whatever the beast asks for, whether it's, oh, Nikon's not doing so well right now, we got to feed the beast. We got to tell the people. You know what? I understand, like, putting out certain information that's, you know, hey, you know, this camera is, and he does a really good job at presenting information like that for the most part, but I also feel like he's kind of like catering to the masses, like, if people are like, just like, well, let's just talk about him, like, make fun of him, kind of thing. Like, there's something wrong with that. It's like when I use my Z6, I rarely had issues. Okay, some of the firmware is the camera solid. Nikon's equipment, their gear is solid. The firmware, maybe not. They're having issues with firmware. I mean, obviously, if the camera comes out and there's issues that can be firmware, that means that it was not complete. Like, the firmware wasn't complete. Like, whatever they were doing in the background, it wasn't optimal. There was some kind of lag. So I get that. I get why somebody would want to talk about that, and why that would be more of an important thing to talk about. Because especially if you're in business, you're shooting weddings or events and stuff, he does that kind of work. He's like, I gotta have this for the now. But he's also like, remember, he's always shooting with the latest product. So obviously he gets some kind of money, and he jokes about this all the time, but I'm pretty sure that some of that's real, like the money truck or whatever. He gets free product. And I've seen it multiple photographers. They used to shoot Canon exclusively. Now it's like, well, I'm testing out the latest Sony product with this certain lens or whatever. Very few people have stuck with their guns, stuck with their cameras, stuck with the gear that they own. And for some reason, on the algorithm, I haven't seen them as often. So there's something to that. There's something to what he's saying. Brian, trying to find his name. But anyways, I started watching Jared Poland when I was looking at what kind of lenses to get or what kind of camera I should get. So he's very knowledgeable. I'm not trying to downplay it at all. I'm not really trying to talk about it. He does a great job, but sometimes he goes overboard, and everybody has an opinion. And I kind of get it. Like, I wouldn't even say I'm an Apple fanboy, but I own Apple products. But if something goes wrong with my Apple product, I get pissed. The littlest thing, like something that should work and doesn't work, I talk about it. So maybe that's what it is. It's like, you know, you used to shoot primarily Nikon, and then all of a sudden, like, well, they're not putting out the best stuff. And obviously, the Z6 and Z7 wasn't like the best. It was like their foot in the door, fearless. It wasn't like even pro. Well, that's debatable. I mean, people always talk about not being pro because it's not dual card slotted. You know, being pro is very subjective. So we'll leave it at that. They're solid cameras. People shoot weddings and stuff with these cameras all the time. So there's no denying that you can get great results with these cameras. They're basically the D750 and the D850, when you think about it, but in mirrorless form. They're basically the same. They're the same sensors, the same output, the same megapixels, that sort of thing. So that's why I say that they're pretty identical in that form factor, basically. The D750 being the Z6 and the D850 being the Z8. Now the 8.2. Or not the 8.2, but the Z6 II and the Z7 II. Anyway, I got off the rails on this, but my main point is that there's been a lot of hate and a lot of negativity about this for a while. Matt Irwin, another guy I follow, he talks very good guy in Australia. Matt Granger, he also shoots he also shoots Nikon primarily, and he talks about different gear every now and then, certain lenses. He also has a couple Sony cameras as well. I believe that Matt Irwin has a couple Sony cameras, but it's like you see all these YouTubers talk about these certain cameras, like cameras are not cheap. Now, most of the time they're cheaper than actual lenses. So unless these guys are probably out killing it in a way, but unless you're making like thousands of dollars like that, then no, you're not going to be buying lenses every month, because that adds up real fast. They get expensive, especially when you're talking about the bigger ones, especially prime lenses. Actually, prime lenses aren't that bad, but the bigger they are, the more expensive they are. Zoom lenses is actually usually more expensive because they do a lot. There's a lot more components inside those. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because there's a lot of people on YouTube that talk about this Sony this or this Sony that. Sometimes Canon that don't think for a second that that's their honest opinion. It could very well be, and like I said, I followed these YouTubers for a while, for years. I'd say as long as I've been a photographer, I've been following them, and I've seen like certain ones, like there were certain ones that start off with no light at all. It's always natural light, and all of a sudden they're talking about the newest Godox this, the newest Godox that, and I wonder and I understand I was natural light for a while. That's all I shot because I didn't have any light, and then to try a new light to add something to my craft was a learning curve because I didn't know it very well, and so that's always going to be there. It's always going to be, but when you start talking about these big brands and stuff like that, then it's like you gotta wonder: is it really their honest opinion, or is there some money involved? Did they get a free product? Especially Sony, not to talk about the company, they make some great stuff, but a lot of people that I follow, they now shoot Sony. I don't know if it's just they shoot for that particular video, or it's some kind of obviously a product review or whatever, and there's obviously some money going on there. I don't know how the money is being transferred, but it's there. Something's going on there, so you have to take every YouTuber with a grain of salt. I'm not going to tell you that everything is 100% gravy with my camera. Yes, I've had focus issues, but most of the time I can get around them. It's just simply knowing how to operate the camera, how to solve the problem. That's basically it. It's not that it can't do it, it's just that sometimes in certain situations that it may not work as well as it should. And that's any camera. It doesn't matter what it is. Now, keep in mind that certain cameras are not, made to do certain things. I wouldn't use the Z6 or the Z7 for, and people can, and people have used those cameras for wildlife. Don't get me wrong. They can shoot pretty fast, but if you want something faster, obviously, Z9 is what you're looking for. Or maybe an R8 or a Z8, which is still like the unicorn. Still the unicorn. I don't know. But we haven't heard much about that camera. Maybe next year we will. I don't know. Will there be a Z8? What will it be? I think I seen some kind of rumor a long time ago that the Z8, what the Z8 would look like. It'd be like pretty much like an in between, not 45 megapixels, not 24, but somewhere in between that. And I think it'd be more like a hybrid of the Z9, the Z7 or 6, to be honest. I don't know. It was a rumor, so who knows? Who knows if that's actually going to be a real camera or not, but I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't put it past Nikon. Put it that way. Anyways, I just wanted to say that's kind of my piece about it. That, like, only reason I shoot Nikons is because I think they're a great product. If I didn't believe in the company and if I didn't believe in the product, yeah, I would have switched a long time ago. And I'm sure a lot of people switch from whatever they used to shoot with to something else because that they just, for some reason, it wasn't working out for them. A lot of times I want to say that, these companies have been around for years. Sony is actually the youngest of the three. When I say youngest, Sony's been around for like forever. But their camera division's only been around since, I don't know, since they bought out Minolta. So Minolta division is one of those three camera companies that have been around for years. Like Nikon, Canon, they came up around the same time. So their division, Sony's camera division, Sony's just a name. But I'm sure like they have a different name for their camera division. But that's been around. But Sony is an operating board. I mean, they do a lot of things. Like movies, they freaking like PS4, PS5s, TVs. It's a name. At the end of the day, it is a name. It's an umbrella over a lot of like things that they do as a company. But whether or not, I mean, I've never used a Sony camera before, but I know, from what people say is that they are pretty good. But I would also say if you're new to photography and you're looking to like making a choice between the three companies, I wouldn't look at companies per se unless a company's not doing so well. Like, I won't even say any names, but if company A was, for some reason, they just like they were dropping the ball, their products aren't that good, and then to top it off, they're not fulfilling their orders, then yeah, I would take that as a yellow flag, and I would be like, let's look somewhere else because to be honest, Nikon, Canon, Sony, Fuji, they're all good companies. There's other companies out there as well, like Panasonic, for Lumix cameras. They all do a great job. I don't know about Panasonic. I'm not gonna I shouldn't really compare, at least not their photography, like still cameras. But Panasonic is a beast in the video world. Panasonic, a beast. Canon's a beast. Sony's a beast in the video world too. So, but that's a different area that I am not really familiar with. I know I came from video, and at the time I was looking at video cameras, but not so much anymore. But Nikon, I would say they do great. They actually, out of the three, they're the only camera company that doesn't have like a video camera division. So keep that in mind. So they have to rise up. and create something in camera. This is why I have the theory about Canon, like engineering obsolescence in one of their cameras. Like, why does the video only last for 30 minutes? Because they want people to buy their video cameras, duh. Or they want people to buy their better camera, duh. Think about it. Engineering obsolescence. Look it up. Anyways, I think I'm done. I have basically told you about my background in cameras as a photographer. I've told you about not really so much the Z9 facts and figures and all that, but the Z9 and the reason I'm not getting it. And then kind of just to discuss a little bit about the negativity and hate about Nikon and, you know, what this and that. And the reason why I bring that up is because there's a lot of it. And there's a lot of speaking out now against it. It's like, whoa, Jared, hold on, man. Calm down. I understand you're very passionate about this, but, you know, maybe Nikon, and I gotta say, because I said this in my podcast, which is garbage. I can't. But I remember it. I remember saying it in my podcast, saying that. So it's a very important point. I believe that Nikon, they had put the Z out. They knew that was not their best. It was simply, you know, and whether they're late to the party too. And yeah, they did put out a better product as far as autofocus, tracking, that sort of thing. But can you get the important thing to know is can you get the results? It doesn't matter what camera you decide, but can you get? They're all great cameras. There's no doubt that they can perform. But can you make them perform? Can you, if for some reason camera A doesn't want to focus on something, is there a workaround for it? Can you go back to, can you change something to make it work better? So I understand, look, our work's important. And when it comes to like jobs, there's no second chance. You have to get it right. I've shot weddings, like I said, I've shot weddings before. You only get one shot. Literally, you get one. Sometimes you only have one shot. And if you miss it, well, was it the camera's fault? One, or was it your fault? Two. And it's a different situation for everybody. So if the camera is the problem, then it's probably probably a good time to get a new camera. But if there's some way you as a photographer, as an artist, can work around and get the result you're looking for, then that's character building right there. That's development. Because more often than not, the gear is solid. Like I said, Nikon's gear is solid, Canon's gear is solid, Sony's gear is solid. The firmware is not always there. And that's what any company. I'm not gonna say that it's all unicorns and rainbows on my camera. My camera does great. Look, I've rarely had issues with it, but I usually can find a workaround if I do have issues. So, and for the work I do, it's not a huge deal if for some reason I missed the shot the first time, but that really happens. It's really, ever since the upgrades in the firmware, it's been great. And apparently it's been a lot better than since the first version of the firmware was probably garbage. I'm not gonna even sugarcoat that, but the cameras are solid, but still, even if you utilize, like, okay, if the auto, like say, the iFocus was not anywhere near where it is now. But if you went back and used like the older system of autofocus, you would get those results. Not saying that that's what you would. I would say in this day and age, you shouldn't have to do that, because autofocus and face autofocus is a game changer. That's all I use now. That's all I use. So I use nothing but that when I work with portraits. So, but it's not 100%. I'd say it's 99%, but it's not 100%. Because it's based on a few factors. It's based on a lot of factors, circumstances at the time. It could be the sun just so happened to come out behind the subject or whatever, or the subject turns around and I have to focus differently or whatever. There's all kinds of reasons. Like I autofocus on head, or not head, but face doesn't work on the back of somebody's head very well. So you need to know how to and what to do in that situation. Some cameras can do it now. A few cameras I've seen can do it now, but if you lose focus tracking because somebody turned around and you can't see their eye anymore, what are you gonna do? You just gonna blame it on the camera? The camera only does what it can do. It can't do what it can't do. It's like, I don't see any eyeball. I don't see a face. I'm not gonna focus on that. Now it may focus on the back of the head just because it's there, but it may not. It may not track it as well. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do as a photographer? We've gotten so spoiled. I'm gonna conclude this, but we've gotten so spoiled that I'm not gonna, when I say we, I don't mean me, but a lot of people that say they're photographers, that they want their cameras to do everything. Like literally everything. And granted, if the technology is here, autofocus and face tracking is a game changer. Subject tracking is a game changer. There's no denying that. However, when does it come a point where we're so dependent on our tech that we have to talk down about a product, like, oh, this such and such camera is not this, or this blah 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 it's not as good as the new A1 or the new A1 Mark V or whatever that came out. It's not like cell phones. Like, we need to get over this. If you're a real photographer, you know what I'm talking about. It's not the camera. Yes, the camera, the tech does help. Don't get me wrong on that. Don't get it twisted. Coming from a D750 is a huge jump. There's no eye autofocus on that. Actually, there's face tracking. There's face tracking on a D750 if you are in live mode. That's the only way you can get it. But there's no eye autofocus. That wasn't made yet. And the reason I know that is because when I was doing a boudoir shoot, and I wasn't even expecting, I didn't even know the D750 had face tracking, but it does. See, that's a prime example of knowing your gear and not knowing it. And had I known that before, I might have used it a lot more. I don't know. But anyway, I just want to end with that. The Z9 is coming out, guys. I'm looking forward to future Nikon products based on that technology, because that looks amazing. That's all I'm going to say. It looks amazing. I'm interested. I don't have money to buy that, but one of these days, I'm going to get, a Z6 III or something like that. We'll see. Whatever. Anyways, I think that's it. I'm going to end it here. My eyes are like My head get fried. What is flying around? What the hell? It's the light. They're all attracted to the light, I'm telling you. If you're watching this, I'm really looking to do this more often. I know I've said this in the past, but normally I just like this background. It's not what I would say is a good background. I have no curtains, no, what is it called? Accent lighting back there? Nothing like that. It's just, this is plain. You just see me sitting in this chair, a bed. I'm trying to like dress this up. Somehow. I need to dress this up. I need to do something. The other option is to have this backdrop, which I do have. I just wanted to do this, so I didn't want to break it out. But it also, it wouldn't fill up the whole frame either way, so. Now I have this option, and I also can use, I don't really use my Nikon for video streaming. I'll watch with a closer, more narrower focal length, then you will see less, and you will see more of my face and less of that. So that's an option. So I don't know if you guys stream or not. If you do, put in the comment section. Anyways, so my question is, you guys, is forward to the Z9? That's a better question. What are you looking forward to in regards to the Z9 in this technical achievements and innovations? If everything that we have seen is even 85% real, then Nikon is stepping in the right direction. That's all I gotta say. Anyways, let me get off here. Drop a comment. Please like and follow, like and subscribe. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear, and share it with somebody else who thinks they'll get something out of it. I don't do this very often, but I would like to. This light is so bright. I need to get off here. Anyways, I will catch you guys on the next one. Guys, so check my podcast out. You can find that on Spotify. You can find it on my Anchor platform, as well as many other platforms that it's distributed to. So check out my Twitter at Mystic Mind. I have two Twitter. Mystic Mind Eye is the one I use for photography, and yeah, I would suggest it actually. My other one is more personal, and I just drop some crazy stuff there sometimes. Anyways, you guys are awesome. I don't know, you watch this later. Yeah, check it out. Anyways, let me get off. I will see you next time, everybody. Cheers, everybody.